Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today with Michael Porter. Welcome, Michael.
Good morning, Robin. How are you this morning?
Bit chilly this morning.
Yeah, it is a bit fresh.
But Michael, what's not chilly, it seems, is relations between the US and Iran. It would appear all the groups are in Switzerland at the moment, hammering out terms of a deal. So everything's over. It's back to the races. Oil drop. Life is...
No, Robin, the world's a complicated place. Old things are being upset. Michael House beat Hilton at rugby on the weekend. Sorry, I had to get that in there. Got a few Hilton old boys watching. I just have to get that in there. But Robin, yeah, is it back to normal? I think again, what we said so many times on the headlines is if you're going to watch the headlines, you're going to drive yourself crazy because they almost change every hour. And over the weekend, talks were on and then they were off, and then Trump is threatening to bomb, and then Iran's pulling out, and then Hezbollah's doing this. And, honestly, it's just you feel like your head's spinning if you try and follow what's going on. But I think what is going on, or what we probably do have to be a little bit cautious about, is that there are ships flowing through the Strait of Hormuz. But until there's really a big peace deal, I think you are going to see. So there's a lot of ships that were trapped there. Now they're all getting out and delivering their cargo wherever they need to go. I think what we do have to be careful about is whether ship owners send their ships back in until there's some real clarity as to exactly what's going on, because you don't want the ships trapped there again, or you don't want to put your crews at risk or anything like that. So, listen, I have to say, I think a peace deal will be generally hammered out. I'm not quite sure what a peace deal is going to look like and whether there's going to be tolls on the Strait of Hormuz. And I don't think that much has been achieved in this war politically. If we look at the real bigger picture, not much is, things have probably changed for the worse, not for the better. So I think there's quite a lot of negotiations still to go. But on the oil market, I think what is concerning on the oil market is that almost the screen price is disconnected from what's happening in the physical market. Unfortunately, yesterday in Qatar, there was a massive explosion at the Ras Laffan LNG facility. They were trying to ramp up production, and I think there was an explosion. Apparently, you could hear it in Doha. It was so loud. Wow. So again, that doesn't bode well for resumption of exports of things, even if the Strait is open. And we wrote an intuition a couple of months ago about just the fact that some of these big plants and industrial complexes have been damaged, and you don't just ramp them up overnight. They have to be repaired. They have, it's complicated engineering. So with the oil prices at 78, we said in our Insight seminar just last week or the week before, we sort of think oil prices are going to average maybe $100 a barrel for the rest of the year. I still think that is a realistic scenario because the markets are really tight, and if there's any upset, it just seems that there's not what the screen price of oil says and what the physical market says and how much oil is around. There's a disconnect in that, So, and we're entering into, strong demand period, especially in the US and things. So I just think we are moving forward, definitely, Robin. But I don't think we must just lose sight of maybe things on the ground,
But Michael, I think maybe the other thing that we have to bear in mind with something like this, it's all very well to say, the straits are open and everything goes back to normal with the caveats that you've put in. But actually, it's never like that again, is it? Because people have looked at it and gone, no, we cannot be ever held to ransom on this. This has precipitated change that will continue well into the future, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Robin, already those Gulf nations are, laying plans, that's probably the wrong expression, but they are, they're building pipelines. They're looking at ways they can bypass the Gulf and export oil through pipelines into Saudi and through Oman and things like that. So those might take 2 years to build, but you can expect there to be an absolute priority on those kind of projects to significantly reduce that chokehold, because what the war has done, unfortunately, it's just shown Iran how much power they actually do have. you
Yes,
know,
yes.
and through quite cheap warfare. And I suppose that's where warfare's changed in the last couple of years with drones and other little bits and pieces. You don't have to have the biggest navy or the biggest air force. You can still disrupt things pretty effectively. So I think the Gulf countries are going to diversify a lot, and I would expect in 2 years' time, reliance on the Strait of Hormuz will be reduced greatly, but it'll take a couple of years to build things. But also consumer behavior will change, Robin.
Yes.
And we've talked before, I think nuclear is probably a big winner out of this war, you know, and then maybe also moving slightly away from LNG. And yeah, just, you know, other countries that are not other big oil producing countries are going to benefit out of this, you know, because they can ramp up production or not be near that choke point, you know.
Yes,
So yes, I mean, I think you look back and the political chips start to change, and you look back and it's because of this war, you know, definitely.
But Michael, the thing we'll always go back to and look at out of this over the medium to longer term is what's the outlook for inflation and where are interest rates going? I mean, that's all this data really, that's where it feeds to, because those are the primary things and drivers of the market that we're looking at.
Yeah, well, there's two other things that maybe we should just touch on. Obviously, it was Kevin Walsh's first meeting as chairman of the Fed last week. And yeah, I think the outcome from that was, you know, a much more hawkish Fed, which are you know, saying, well, rates sort of need to go up, and Kevin Walsh himself saying, well, he wasn't predicting anything, but the market didn't really react to that. And I think the next move in US interest rates is likely to be higher with what we know at this stage. The second thing is it looks like Britain's Prime Minister's maybe going to fall on his sword today and maybe be out. And it's unclear to me whether Andy Burnham just takes power in the UK, assumes the leadership of the Labour Party, whether there's actually going to be a challenge for the leadership from West Streeting and other politicians over there. So again, I mean, we focus on the war and what's going on and all the rhetoric around it, but there's quite a lot else going on in the world that is influencing currencies and interest rates and consumer behavior and things like that, you know. In the UK, this is going to be their 7th Prime Minister in 10 years. You know, I mean, it's mind-boggling. I mean, I think we discussed a couple of weeks ago, The Economist had an article saying, is the UK ungovernable? And you really have to look at the UK quite seriously because politics is just so toxic there, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that probably feeds to almost the whole of the world, doesn't it?
It probably does, but it's hard to get things done when you keep on having this leadership change. You know, you're just not moving forward. You know.
100%. Michael, well, thanks for giving us that insight. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.